Okay, this episode I'm going to be going over the essentials for bug out bags. Previous episode I did was for get home bags, which is just you're at work and you need to get home. There's going to be times, and that's usually, I would say, roughly 24 hours, just the essentials to get home. But the bug out bag, you're going to be going a little bit further. You probably got a location. That's the thing too. This bug out bag episode is going to be for you have a planned bug out location, you know, within maybe an hour's drive, a couple days on foot. And we're going to focus on such as an EMP or something like that, where their vehicles are not working, the roads are gridlocked, and you need to go on foot. In all possibilities, you want to take your vehicle if you can. But there's a lot of times when that's just not going to be possible, and you're going to be covering some distance. I'm going to be going over some stuff right now. The simplest form is just bottled water. You could have store-bought and bottled water, have it in your car. You need to transition to your bug out bag, load as much as you can in your bag. But remember, water is a lot heavier than filtration. These are really popular. These are those life straws. These are good to have and they're really cheap. There are some negatives though. With these, you would literally insert this end into the water and then pop this end off, and then you suck through the filter. Big negative of this is you're just sucking it into your mouth. You can't fill up other containers. I mean, theoretically, you could suck water out of this, have your Nalgene bottle, and just suck water, and then like Mama Bird and fill this thing up. It'll take you a long time. I'm not saying these aren't bad to have. It's probably good to have a couple. I mean, these things are on clearance all the time on Amazon for like $10. They're just really worth it to have. But what I do recommend is one like this, such as the Sawyer, and this one's called the Squeeze. It's a water filtration system. I'll unbox it and kind of show you what you get. You get a lot of little things in here, but a lot of little adapters. But with this one, you get a filter very similar to the water straw, but this one you do not suck. I'm just going to go over this briefly though, but you get a lot of different things in here, carry case. But the big difference on this is you get some bags, and these are the ones that you can squeeze fill one of these up in a creek, and then squeeze it into the other one as a storage container of clean water. This is the cleaning plunger. You get two 32-ounce bladders, and then the filter system, and then a carry bag and some adapters. So this filter, you can actually attach it, like if you have a Camelback water filtration system in your pack, you can just fill it with dirty water, run the hose, have this in line with your hose, and then suck clean water. What I like to do, even though this comes with these small bladders, is I like to get a big water bag. This one's a newer one, but what I would do with this is keep this in your bug out bag, get a marker beforehand, and write on here dirty water, something to identify it so you know that it's not for clean water. And then run the hose. It's got a quick attachment on here on the bottom, and I believe it's a similar one to like Camelback system, but you got a quick attachment on this hose. Attach this hose from this to this filter, and then you could fill up regular bottles. But I've tried to plan any route home near water, streams, creeks. The route that I normally took on my previous job, I had it marked out on maps, multiple rivers and streams that were marked out with enough space that I knew that I could fill up at least two of these. These are 32-ounce Nalgene bottles, or you could fill up two of these 32-ounce, and that would give you enough water. You would never carry more than 32 ounces, but you knew that you had water in between those, so you could top it off again. So on your way. And now you have to modify this system a little bit if you live in areas such as the desert. I live in the Midwest right now, so there's water everywhere. Clean water is probably not a common thing. That's why you have to have a filter. I also carry the pills, but the pills only kill germs. They don't filter anything out. This filters pretty much everything out. So I would recommend a filter. You could go much further carrying just a filter and a couple bottles than trying to carry a case of water on your pack. Water is very heavy, so just remember that. So first thing you need to do is get a good water system. So I would recommend some type of squeeze inline filtration system, or even the old standby, the backpacker water filtration systems. With those, you're gonna have usually very similar to this. They come with a bag like this, and you got a system probably about, you know, that big, not much bigger than like if I can use it as like this box, much smaller than this Nalgene bottle. But what you would get is usually it's got a hand pump on it, and you've got two hoses, one that goes in the water, that would be like your source, such as a creek, stagnant puddle, and then the other one would top off and go into your bottles. And it's kind of the same system. Instead of squeezing or using gravity, such as this one, you could hang this one up and use gravity. And this one's got a lot of measuring systems on it. Tells you how much water you have in there. So you kind of get an idea. If you've got, it'll say 1 gallon, 1.5 gallon, and then you got your 32 ounces there. But filtration is key. You need to have something in there. I mean, because even when I was in the tip-top shape in the Marines, we still didn't carry a lot of water. We always had resupply. When you bug out, you're not going to have resupply unless you have caches someplace, but the best thing is have a filter, a plan of where you could fill it up, and ways to carry at least bare minimum 32 ounces, but I would try to carry 2 32-ounce containers such as this, or even these bladders, or a Camelback pouch in the back of your pack. So that's what I'd recommend for water. But like I said, your situation dictates. As you can see, this Nalgene has a insulated cover over it. If you're in cold weather, like I am at times, our weather here fluctuates. It varies quite a bit, but these work really good to keep your water from freezing. And worst case scenario, you don't have a filter, you need to boil that water. If you do that in the winter, your water's gonna be nice and warm. You can keep it in here and it'll stay unfrozen for quite a long time. But like I said, first thing you need is some type of water filtration and a way to carry it. That's number one. You can get by with almost everything else, but water is one thing, especially when you're hiking and carrying a pack and you're covering great distance, you're gonna need water. One of the things, dehydration's no joke. You need to figure your water system out. There's many things on the market. Find something in your budget. Like I said, it could be as simple as $10, starting with the life straw, and then work your system up. And what you want to do with a lot of this stuff is practice with it, have redundancy. You know, the old 2 is 1, 1 is none. If this thing breaks, that's why even though I typically have a good squeeze filtration system or a hand pump filtration system, I always still throw one of these $10 water straws in there. These things are normally, I think, like $20, but they're always on clearance. I think even Sam's Club has them now. So you just gotta have some type of filtration. On the cheap, you can get the pills. Pills are like $5 a package. Your water's gonna taste not the greatest. You can use chlorine. There's very many different things you could use, but the lightest is a filter and a couple bottles. And as long as you have sources of water. Like I said, if you're in the desert, I'm not your best source of information. It's been a long time since I've been in the desert, and when I was in the desert, there's always resupply. So if you're in an urban environment, lots of areas with water, but you're gonna have dirty sanitary conditions most likely if power's out and things like that, where a filter's still gonna be very important. Mountain water, mountain streams, you're still gonna wanna filter it. The last thing you want to do is take a sip of that clean mountain water and upstream somebody, you know, defecated in it, or there's a dead body in the, you know, you don't know. This is if you're bugging out, things are not normal. Would never trust the water. So number one thing is have clean water and a way to carry it. Okay, next thing, in addition to water, you're gonna want some food and some energy, calories, because you're gonna be hiking more than likely a greater distance than you're used to. Maybe you're in really good shape and it's not a big deal, but you're still gonna get hungry. And plus, one of the things I've always learned over the years is food tends to be a comfort item. I'm gonna go over some simple off-the-shelf ideas. One of the easiest, like I said, if you don't have a lot of money right now, I would also recommend bouillon cube, chicken bouillon cube. When I used to mountaineer, nothing was better than heating up the stove, heating up some water, and drinking a hot, warm cup of bouillon, chicken bouillon. That's in cold weather. It's probably not the greatest thing in hot weather, probably not as tasty, but kind of get the idea. Maybe some comfort item. In your bug out bag, it's not a bad idea to rotate and have some, maybe like some candy bars, something that won't melt, like granola or something like that, or the Kind bars, or some kind of something that you like that usually won't melt. And then as you keep an eye on your bag, every once in a while just check to make sure they're not past expiration and rotate them. But you're gonna also want some food that's gonna sit in your pack for a while, always ready to go. And there's a couple different options. I'm gonna go over these right here. One of the easiest is the lifeboat rations. This thing is a block of cookie bars that are designed to sit in life rafts on ships, and they're designed to sit in high heat, horrible weather, just for long periods of time. They're vacuum packed. They've got a lot of calories. They taste like, they don't taste bad. They're like a cookie, like the tins of cookies you get. There's a certain one in there, it tastes like these. These last a long time, they taste good. You can break them up and share them. So if you've got a family, they're easy to divide. If you're by yourself, you can kind of divide it and be like, okay, I've got so many miles to cover. I could eat one of these per so many miles. It's a good way to measure what you have, and it's they're not very expensive. The downside is they're a little heavy, but not bad. Probably one of the greatest things to have. And I would say 2023 right now, but the prices range from $10 to $20. You can go like on Amazon, you can find these depending on the brand, the weight. And these ones are Datrex brand. Good, bad, and different, I don't know, but I've tried all of them and they're all pretty good. Next option, I will skip over this one, but the tried and true MREs, military meals ready to eat. Good thing about these, they've got a heater in them, they've got a wide assortment of food items, they last relatively long. I would put them in the same time range as this, maybe 6 years. You can trust me, I know a lot of people have eaten them well past expiration. I've eaten some that were probably 10 years past expiration. The negatives though, they tend to be a little heavy, and there's a lot of stuff that you may not need. So when I was in the military, we used to call it field stripping. We used to field strip our MREs and only carry the essentials. So field stripping would be such as this. I'll pull it out. You got the pouch. Don't really need that. Heater, depending on the weather conditions. I mean, if you're just trying to get to your location, you can cut down a lot of weight. You can drop the heater, the cocoa powder. Yeah, maybe unless you want to make some pudding. But like condiments, do you really need sugar, things like that? You don't. You can drop that out of there. This one's got, the coffee. Maybe take toilet paper. You might want that. Coffee, it's got caffeine in it. Caffeine is energy. You may take that. But then you've got, piece of bread. Yeah, you might want that. It may be just your main course. This one's, take it out of the cardboard pouch and then just keep the actual pouches like this and slim it down a little bit. And you can get, a little, and this is one of the reasons you want to check this stuff. This pouch is leaking. So this one's been in the back of a vehicle for quite a while. Now I'm going to have to, and this one is cheese sauce. Yeah, the notorious cheese sauce. So, but yeah, MREs, they're not bad. As they say, they're ready to eat, and you can heat them up. You've got the heater in there. So, but that's a little gross, but that's why you got to check this stuff too. Besides rotating it, you want to take a look and check it, because now all this stuff is wet and slimy. The good side is everything else besides the cheese looks like it's undamaged, but it's a little, everything else is just a little dirty. The other option that I was going to go through before is freeze-dried food. By far my favorite. Very light. This is Mountain House brand. There's a lot of different brands. But Mountain House by far is my favorite. Best flavors, best meals, and we actually have our own freeze dryer now. I've made my own meals, but I still like to buy these because these are their Pro Packs, and what they do is they chamber vac seal them, so the pouch has absolutely zero air in it. Plus there's a oxygen absorber in there, but this, the way it is, probably has, they say like 25 years shelf life. I've seen people on YouTube eat Mountain House that's 40 years old. So the only negative with this is, in general, you're going to want to add hot water to it to cook it. It's pre-cooked, but it needs to be reconstituted with water. In a survival situation, you could just open this up and eat it. It's like styrofoam and crunchy, zero water in it, and you could do that, but it's much better with hot, warm water added to it. When you open these up, there's, you can't really see on here, but there's a tear line right there. You tear this off, add the hot water to it, and then this one has it on there. Down below, there's a Ziploc. So I'll start from the beginning. You tear this off, open it up. Number one thing to do is go inside of it, look for the oxygen absorber. It's gonna be like a little packet in there. Take that out. Then spread it open, pour hot or boiling water in there, and then Ziploc it and let it sit. And then every once in a while check in on it, maybe get your spoon and stir it. And then let it sit, and then you've got a very good hot meal. And you can see how small this is. This is one meal. You could do, if say you got a 3-day trip, have maybe, 2 of these a day in your pack, and it doesn't take up very much space at all. And you could, they even got breakfast ones, and pretty much anything you could think of that's not fatty and oily can be freeze dried. You can, with the exception, I take that back, you can get ice cream freeze dried too. But it has to be real ice cream. It can't be a lot of the fake stuff that you get at the stores nowadays. And then the only thing I've had a hard time freeze drying is breakfast sausage. I usually have to use turkey or something like that, or you have to get a lot of the grease out of it first, or get some really lean breakfast sausage. But Mountain House makes biscuits and gravy. Some of the best I've actually, it's really good. This one is actually lasagna with meat sauce. They've even got ones that you put cold water in. They have chicken salad. They've got some other items that you put cold water in, but these are great. But if you've ever eaten MREs, you get an MRE spoon. If you get these, I highly recommend a long spoon. If I can get this thing open. This one is a titanium spoon and a spork set, but they're very long. These pouches are long, so you want to be able to get into the bottom and scoop everything out. And then when you're done with them, you can just crumple them up and seal the zip tie, put all your garbage inside of it, and pack it out. Even in an apocalyptic end of the world situation, I would still pack out my trash. If somebody's following you, whatever, you don't want them to find all this stuff. And then if the world goes back to normal, you don't want your garbage out there. So, but yeah, I would totally recommend Mountain House. This is a cheap alternative, because this could last you a couple days. If you're not going to be in comfort, if you don't mind the extra weight, do the MREs or the Mountain House, which is way better in taste than the MREs. The MREs have a lot of preservatives. They tend to stop up your system a little bit. They're not bad, but Mountain House, so much of the Mountain House is indistinguishable from regular food because it's just literally regular food freeze dried. So I totally recommend these, but with the Mountain House, you are going to need one other step in your system. I'm going to go over that now. You're going to need a way to cook water and do it quickly and easily. I mean, you're not going to carry enough stuff in your bug out bag to do a fire, a campfire, your cast iron and things like that. You're going to want to go ultralight because ounces add up equals pounds, pounds add up and slows you down. So you want to go lightweight. So I'm going to go over some cook systems now that are literally cheap to not even that expensive. So we're going to go over that now. Okay, we are back to cook systems. As you can see, I left this here, this Nalgene bottle. You're going to see why in a second. I'm going to go over a couple different options here. I've got this one, and this one. 3 different stove options. And as you can see, they kind of all have their pluses and minuses in size. Very small, small, a little bit bigger, but still viable option, and you're going to see why. With these 2 options, you're going to need this, and I'm going to show you why. This is your Nalgene bottle, this is your water, but I've got one item in here that if you're going to have a stove, you're going to need, unless you have the one on the right. These are called Nalgene bottles. They're plastic 32 ounce BPA free bottles. They sell a Nalgene cup. It's designed to fit your Nalgene perfectly. It stores in the insulated bottle. You can cook with this on these little stoves. It's stainless steel, it does not weigh much, it's got folding handles, and they used to be relatively not cheap. These ones, I find them at Walmart now, in the camping section now, they're so common. They're just such a great item. So, I'm gonna go over these stoves though. So this one, it's called the Mark Hill Hot Shot. I've had this one literally for 20 years, no joke. Back in the day, it was the cheapest, most generic stove at the time that was small. You pull it out. I'm going to pull this and come up a little closer so you can see. It comes out of the package. It's just tiny. It's got a little folding handle. You straighten that out, put that on there. These little things pop up, spread out, pull up, and there you go. There's your stove. Now if you can see this little thing, I don't know if you can see that. It's got a piezo igniter on it. This thing, you just click it, it sparks. You don't need matches to start it. You can start it with matches, but it's not needed. The reason I want to show you this Mark Hill Hot Shot, there's so many stoves like this that are like 15, 20 years old, little backpacking pocket stoves. They're still very good. You can get these things at garage sale, anything. You can find them, eBay, different things. And they work. This piezo igniter, I mean, it's never failed. I always carry matches though, because you never know, but it's always worked. I've climbed more mountains with this stove than you could believe. Now, they need fuel. These are little canisters of fuel. Believe it or not, this canister is about 20 years old also. What I used to do, I've got so many of these like partially filled canisters. Whenever I used to go mountaineering, I would take a fresh canister on the trip, use it, and when I'd get back, throw it in a bin, and then next trip, and I used to go weekly on trips. And I would just save all these partially, but I just didn't want to carry a partially used canister on my trips. So I saved all these. I mean, you can see this thing's it's got rust. It has, rust around there, but it's threaded, it's sealed, and these are pressurized. So this will power your, I'll show you here in a second. These come in different sizes. They sell like double ones that are double the size of this. They sell smaller ones. I'll go over the pluses and minuses. If you're going to use one of these stoves, this is the perfect size. Just the medium size. Now this one is propane butane mix. I would recommend always getting the propane butane mix. Some of them are just butane, some of them are just propane. Get the mix. The mix tends to work better in cold weather. And also, if you're going to be in cold weather, when I used to do mountaineering, I would take these along with my water bottles and throw them into my bottom of my sleeping bag to keep them warm. These do tend to not work as good when they're really cold. You need to keep them, if you're going to put it on the ground, you need to put some kind of insulation pad or something to keep this, so it's just not conducting the cold from the ground. So if this is like cold ground right here, it's going to start conducting the cold. You're going to want to put anything you could find, and I'm going to go over some of that other things here in a little bit. But all you do with your stove, you take it, it threads on there, there you go, it's on, and then turn the gas on until you hear it. And guess what? My igniter is failing. There it goes. So it took a little while. Those piezo igniters, you can control the flame, give it more gas. You want a nice blue flame eventually. And then with this, and you could feel this thing puts off a lot of heat. You would just take your, and then put that on there like that, and you're ready to cook. And word to the wise, it was a brand new cup. It still had the Ozark Trail from Walmart sticker on the bottom. So, okay, we're gonna go over the next stove now. I'll show you how quickly, and these are usually, they actually, believe it or not, cool off really quick. I still wouldn't touch it right away, but they cool off quick. Okay, smells like marshmallow, believe it or not. This stove, I can put a link to this one. I don't even know the brand, but it comes in a little case. It was from Amazon, and it's very similar, but it's smaller, lighter, and we'll go over it now. So you can see it's like a, you pull it out, flip it out. It's got the piezo igniter on there. It's got a little wire, like it's very, very, very flimsy, I guess is the word, but it's very light. Little things fold out. Still going to use the old 20-year-old canister. Okay, and as you can see, these little legs do not fold perfectly flat, which is kind of weird. They're kind of at a little bit of an angle. These ones are flat, so quality control is not the greatest on these. But I want to say this thing was like $10 on Amazon. But it's very similar. You turn this knob for your gas. Wait for the hiss. And look at that, starts on one try, starts right up. I mean, this thing, these really do put off a lot of heat. But I mean, you can see the size of this thing, it's tiny. The other option, which is my favorite, I still use these, and they all use the same fuel, so that's why I tend to use all of them. Yeah, it just rotates like that and then folds up. Very neat, folds in a little case. Okay, this is the Jetboil. What I like about this is you don't need the Nalgene cup. I still carry a Nalgene cup because I use the Nalgene cup to eat out of sometimes, but in general I'll just eat out of the pouch. That way I don't get it all dirty, but I like the cup also because I like coffee, so I'll take coffee in there. But what's nice about this is a pot stove. You could drink out of this if you wanted to. You got to clean it then, but I mean you can do everything with this. But also, I'll show you here in a second. Here is the stove part. The coolest thing I think is you can fit one of these small butane cartridges inside of it. And just to give you an idea, if I can get the size on here, I'll put it in the links though, what size this is. I think it's like the 110 gram one. And this one is 215 gram, so. But this one, literally, you pull the bottom off. It's got actually a little cup and it's got measurement lines in there. So you could measure, you know, you could even eat out of this. So all you do with this, you take this part, put it on the bottom, twist it. You got a little hand strap. This one's old too. I would say this thing's not as old as some of this, as my first stove. I'd say this is like 2007 maybe I bought it. And then I'm going to use the old canister, but the other one, they all fit. There it goes. Okay. What's cool about this is, and then you've got a lid. And then this is neoprene, so it's insulated. And if you look in here, it's got little fins. This by far is the quickest. I mean, you can put the metal, the little cup on there, and it's going to boil water. But that's why they call it the Jetboil. I mean, it's very fast, and it's kind of got it's just aluminum in there. But with this, very much the same thing. You've got a piezo igniter, and then you got your fuel right there. So turn the gas on until you hear it. There it goes. Look at that. So with this, you've got the lid on here, and it's got a pouring spout. So with this, I love boiling water very quickly. You can measure out exactly how much you need with this, and then pour it with the handle. Leave the fuel on, you don't even have to disconnect it. Pour it into your mountain house, your freeze-dried food, and you got a complete cook system. But the best part of it is how quickly and how nice it is to store it. These cool off really quick too. So, and like I said, if you get the small canister, it fits right into there. And that goes right into there. Put the lid back on, the bottom piece, and you got a nice compact item for your bug out bag. And these canisters, you can get them at Walmart. I'll show you the Walmart one here really quick. So Walmart actually sells two sizes. They sell the Coleman, the bigger, the same size as this. I think it's like the 110. I could be wrong. I mean 220, sorry. The 220. And then they also sell the bigger one, and this one is 440. You're gonna have to go to like an REI or a more specialty store to get the smaller ones that fit inside of there though. These ones are the, I forgot the size again, but this one even says 4-season. That's ideally what you want to get. Believe it or not, the ones from Walmart are butane propane mix, so they are technically 4-season too. And these are used all over the world, so you can find these canisters. I mean, you're gonna find them everywhere. Carry it all in there, and one of these will last you a long time. You'll be surprised. If you get one of these, you'll tend to use it all the time. Like I use this thing all the time, and these canisters just seem to go and go and go. I mean, I don't even think I've been on a long enough trip where I've gone through one of these. I mean, as long as you're pretty conservative with your fuel usage and food. But I've even used it on winter camping to melt snow. I mean, they do come with a cap on here. The ones from Walmart, they're a little harder to get off. You usually got to use some kind of a tool to pop that out, so keep that in mind. You're going to have something in your equipment. This one's already taken off. And then like this one's just got a tear cover. But I would leave the covers on to keep dirt and stuff out of there, because that's one thing you don't want to. Easy way to do it is, if you're kind of worried about that, take the cover off and just put a piece of tape over it, like a piece of duct tape over it, and stick it on there loosely, but it'll keep all the... Yeah, here we go. Here's another cup. I've got a whole bunch of these, but this one's clean in the bottom. So I know these used to be I used to get them like REI, but like I said, that last one that I caught on fire and burnt the bottom, that one's Ozark Trail from Walmart, and it's probably like $5, if even that. Just gonna go over, I went over the Jetboil. Jetboil does make some bigger models called like the Sumo, but as you can see, it still holds a small container, but it's a little bit bigger. But you can still fit the small container in there. It's actually got, remember I was telling you want to insulate the fuel off the ground? In the lid, it comes with a little folding thing that holds the, your fuel canisters will snap into this. And it's got different sizes, tabs in it for bigger or smaller canisters of fuel. And this holds it off the ground and insulates it a little bit. So I believe the regular Jetboil comes with one of these. I just misplaced it. But this one snaps into the lid. It's got a little velvety case to hold everything so you don't scratch the inside. And it's a bigger capacity. So if you've got a family and it's got nicer handles on it, and you got to feed more people or heat up more water for more mountain house pouches, you may want the bigger one. The same performance, put in a bigger package.